Hi everybody and welcome back to another tank review, and this time we're going to have a look at the Tier 9 American Heavy, the M103, and as always we have a complete guide. And actually what's really interesting about getting back to this tank line after doing the T32 is that this is actually a real tank. So having looked at the Yo range, which were not real tanks, never in service, this Tier 10 US heavy tank actually saw service, albeit somewhat limited. But it is great nonetheless to get back to reviewing some tanks which actually existed, because I know a lot of you love to play tanks which actually saw service. This tank saw service in Korean War, later on the Vietnam War. There's some 300 produced. Approximately 80 were used by the US Army, but most, around 220, were actually used by the US Marine Corps. Originally when this tank was produced, it failed to meet any of its test parameters. It was therefore put into storage, but later on some 70-80 improvements were made and redesignated as the M103, and into service it went, and it served up until I think 73 or 74, when heavy tanks, in their entirety as a range, became obsolete as main battle tanks. And we saw the rise of, let's say, medium and faster, smaller, more agile tanks with sloped armor, etc. Anyway, let's have a look at the tech spec. With regard to this tank, in terms of your provisions, you're going to use coke, case of coke, and improved fuel. I'm going to run gun rammer, supercharge, and refined gun. You can also use calibrated shells. If you run calibrated shells, you do get a decent amount of extra pen. Your reload goes up from 9.43 to 10.14 seconds. But your penetration with gun rammer is 258, 314, 60 millimeters with AP, heat, and HE respectively. That goes up to 271, 374, and 66. So you do get a good bit of extra pen, particularly on the AP, going up to 271. So you may want to think about that if you want to forego losing that extra bit of DPM. You've got 8 degrees gun depression, 15 degrees of elevation, so it has decent gun alignment. It can go hull down. Its muzzle velocity is 1387 meters per second with all shell types, so therefore it means it is relatively easy to manage your shell selection. But if you don't use supercharged, by the way, your muzzle velocity is really low. It's 1067 meters per second only. Gun handling index is 15.4, which is really good for a heavy tank. So, this tank, its gun system does work despite that low muzzle velocity, but it does have a pretty low dispersion. So that makes it the gun handling index pretty good. That's kind of German levels of gun handling. Now, one thing I'd like to draw your attention to here is, in terms of your consumables, is the improved engine accelerator, or improved engine boost. Why? Well, I've been experimenting with this tank. Normally on a heavy tank I would run 2 repair kits and adrenaline, but on this one I was running this improved engine boost. And the reason for that is that when you're running the engine boost, the improved engine boost, the mobility of the tank goes up from its standard mobility index of 3.13 all the way up to 6.74. So basically it becomes a medium tank for those 15 or 20 seconds you're running that. When you consider that this is a hold down tank, it allows you to get into those hold down positions very quickly. So something to think about. You can side scrape in this tank too. You can see here, if we look at the relative armor numbers up above, they can become pretty high, but it's not your standard heavy tank because it's very vulnerable front on the hull, especially, and particularly the lower plate. So it can be penned even by tier 8s, even if you're top tier, if you're front on. So therefore, playing this tank as kind of hull down tank is the sort of optimal strategy for it. And getting into that position early in this tank, therefore using that improved engine boost, is actually a good tactic in this tank. Because if you get in early, you can spot up the enemy, get into position before they can, and you can do a lot of damage, get XP for spotting, etc, etc. And okay, you're going to lose some DPM by not being able to run adrenaline, but if you get into that position early and get off an extra couple of shots,
then actually you're counterbalancing the loss of DPM through adrenaline. You can see here front on, if you're tier 8, if you're against tier 8s, the front is pretty okay, but you can see against tier 9s and tier 10s you're going to get penned even front on. Just have those vulnerable sides on either side of the cupola, of the gun mantlet, but very difficult to hit. So it is a very effective hold down tank, and you'll see most experienced players kind of use it in that respect. You can see here the historical reference that it is actually a combat tank. As we see there, confirmation about 300 vehicles in total were produced. They were produced originally by Chrysler after they got a $99 million contract from the US government. So as I said, guys, something to consider. Now, if you want to go really balls out, you could use the enhanced engine accelerator and adrenaline, just run one repair kit. But if you're going hold down, you often get your tracks damaged. If you want to get perma-tracked, I prefer to lose the adrenaline if I'm using the engine accelerator. It's up to you guys. Everybody's game style is different, right? So we know that. But I just thought, to give you that option, because I experiment with this tank, lots of different setups, and this is what worked for me best. I found the tank way more effective, way more influence on the battle, because when you hit that enhanced engine accelerator, you basically play like a medium tank, as I said, for those parts of the game. And not only does that allow you to get into those hold down positions, but in a game like this, when you're top tier, and you can be a bit more adventurous because you are the highest tier tank, you can use it for getting around the map. You can get around the map with alacrity, and then of course you can get extra base captures, right? And as we know, base captures excellent way to earn XP, and an excellent way then to perhaps get your first, second, and of course those elusive mastery badges. And this is a good tank. You do need to get a high amount of XP to master it, but that's why I think giving you those extra options with the engine accelerator to get around the map, I think it is a really nice option to think about. But just food for thought. If you're much happier with adrenaline, then of course please use the adrenaline. You can see here in this game, I am capturing my second base now. I'm also able to get in some damage there, waiting for the JP2 to give me a shot onto the side of him. Don't want to risk going on to the front of his armor because I won't pen. I'm running gun rammer, by the way, because my preference is usually to fire more often, and if I need that extra pen, I just switch up to heat, because I think one of my theories is that the more often you fire, the more influence you have in the game. There are exceptions to this, of course, particularly when I'm using an autoloader, but generally I use gun rammer, because you just getting those extra shots in. Also, because I'm using the enhanced engine accelerator here, and you can see I used it to get in here to this flanking position, which is, as I said, this is typical medium tank kind of, I don't know what happened there, by the way. Medium tank kind of tactics. I'm in behind the enemy now, and that engine accelerator allowed me to get in there, and then it gets me this extra kill. So this is what I'm saying, the engine accelerator can actually reduce the losses that you have in DPM from not being able to use adrenaline. Again, this is where you want to run the 2 repair kits, not adrenaline here, so that you can actually keep 1 repair kit for this brawl that's going up here. Fluff that shot, as you can see, didn't zoom in, always a rookie error. We can see there the importance of having that second repair kit there. Thought that would go through, did not. I'm making a bit of a mess now out of this deal with this T54, but now I'm only giving my my turret to shoot at, so then I ignore him and I take out his ally up there because I see he's a one shot, and now I'm going to concentrate on him. Now I'm zooming in, so I'm going to make sure that as I'm only giving him the turret of my tank to shoot at, he's finding it really difficult to pen, and I'm just going to keep penning him, and then my allies come around and take him out. Now I'm going to get my 3rd base capture, and this is quite important, right, because this is a mastery game, and it's this 3rd base capture which makes the difference here between this being a 1st or 2nd class mastery game and this being an actual mastery game. Now we have just the Pantera left, right? So this game is over, right? But the Pantera is quite fast. And what I was expecting him to do was to rabbit around the map and try to capture the bases with those slow guys here. And I thought once he spotted me, he would run, but actually he comes straight on. I get shot into him. And now I'm actually able to use my repair kit, and I push him up here. And this is exactly the kind of position you want to get a medium tank into, because you're just going to give him the turret to fire at, and again an extra kill. So that's 5 kills in the game, the 3 base captures, and that's what delivers the mastery badge. I've done, by the way, over 5k damage in this tank. Have not received a mastery badge, because as we discussed in the game about getting mastery badges and having to change your play, it's not about damage, it's about XP. And you can see here, like the spotting I did there, the base captures, the assisted damage, and then of course the 5 kills. All of those contribute to the additional XP, which delivers the mastery badge. We can have a look at it here. Assistance to allies, etc. And then of course a lot of badges independent of the mastery badge. Sharpshooter, master, gunner. Again, all of those contributing to your steel wall. They all contribute towards your additional XP because they're all positive actions. Radley Walters medal, etc. And that's what delivers the mastery badge there. Not the damage done, because the damage done was, well, decent, not that spectacular. Doing over 4k damage, plus 4k damage to 5k damage in a tier 9 heavy tank, is usually nothing spectacular. And here I didn't even do 4k, but it's all those additional extra contributions towards the team win, and contributions therefore towards additional XP that make that difference. So guys, I hope you found this useful. I hope that you'll consider the tips that I discussed with you. Particularly consider using that enhanced engine boost. To me, it transforms how this tank behaves and gives you far more options. And in this tank in particular, that setup worked for me better than running 2 repair kits and adrenaline, which I'd normally run on a tier 9 heavy. So anyway, cheers mush. Thanks for watching, if you have indeed watched this far, and if you haven't, you wouldn't have heard that anyway, so it's kind of irrelevant. And now, I guess all remains for me to say is, as always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you found it useful, and of course, as always, pants off.